Alright guys, so this is going to be a variant of the inside spin that you're going to use when your opponent has his shin stacked all the way up inside of your, up into your armpit, preventing you from otherwise moving your body into space as we described before. This is the neck cut under magic spin move. So, here we are. If we rotate this away right quick. So, with our ordinary inside spin, let's get that there. With our ordinary inside spin, this foot's at my hip, and I go, oh, cool, and I can reposition myself into space, no problem. I'm able to fold at the hip and turn over. Now imagine I wanted to bring my wrist towards myself, only my secondary hand, when my forearm was up high. That's a serious problem. All of a sudden we can make it happen. However, we have to defeat the check that's becoming the issue, because the check is not needed to be defeated here. We're able to bring the hand towards, it slides up higher. I'm like, shit, I can't do this. Whoop, and we make it happen. So the way that this works, if we circle back over here again, as you guys see now, the shin's all the way up in my armpit. Again, I cannot overstate, no lazy hips, nonsense. You're going to hear me repeat that, ad nauseum a whole bunch. If you were a student at the gym, you'd be more than tired of it by now. But I'm hips up. If you notice, I've elongated myself. This allows me to be super safe. I do this in fighting all the time. You can't really reach my face unless you're John Jones, in which you could reach my face. But that's why I would try not to fight John. That and probably a bunch of other reasons that make it really rough. But this inside hand, rather than it's hitting my armpit, I'm going to get it out of the way, and I'm actually going to drop my lock below Adam's knee for a moment, because that's going to allow me to spin behind him. If you notice, I'm with my shoulder. In each of these cases, guys, you'll notice that Adam is being very, very defensively responsible, submission first. So there's different types of defensive responsibility. There's submission-oriented defensive responsibility. There's position-oriented defensive responsibility. You'll see a lot of this type of stuff in sub-only things. This is atrocious defense, frankly. But you're going to be hard to submit. I mean, granted, this has less than nothing to do with anything other than that specific game, but I'm basically taking all my limbs and saying, stay away from me, these belong to me. Now, if you start pushing me around, I'm going to roll around like a ball. So the threat of the footlock is what keeps Adam honest and what encourages him to try to protect his feet. So rather than putting his feet on the ground, he goes, hey, don't hurt me, and then he's able to be knocked over. If someone decides to elect for positional defensive responsibility, they may go, hey, you can't knock me over. That's more of a wrestling style, positional, judo style, high-level jiu-jitsu style. High-level jiu-jitsu is very positional. Low-level jiu-jitsu is almost entirely a submission game. So it kind of depends on what you're playing. And, of course, the transition between both is very important. This is a sequencing and a movement that's going to play off of both, but you have to be ready for either response. And also be able to look at your opponent and go, hey, what is this guy likely to do? In the moment, you're ultimately going to feel what your partner's doing or what your opponent's doing. But you can also get a very, very good idea. If someone comes out with a USA Wrestling logo tattooed on their back, there's a really good chance they're going to try to not let you sweep them, which is going to make them a little bit more vulnerable to the footlock. Whereas if they have spats and a rash guard on, there's a very, very solid chance this guy's going to protect his feet pretty well, and you're going to have an easier time tilting him to the top. So, as Adam has spats on, as you can see, I'm assuming that he's going to protect his feet. So I lift. It takes me through, and I'm up. What allowed this to function, again, if we come back, is simply, it would be Adam's go for this one. If I were here, Adam can fold his body. See, I can't get his arm through? That's why he doesn't need to do it. He can fold his body here, and that's cake. If we come back, if you attempt to do the first, if you attempt to get your hand through and my foot's at your hip, you're going to be like, dude, this is impossible. However, when I put this sucker up by your armpit, you can easily get his arm through, and that's what allows, if you notice my foot's it's kind of sitting on Adam's shoulder, almost like it was an X-guard sweep. So Adam carves underneath. My knee may or may not slip out. If you notice right now, it hasn't slipped out, no sweat. If it does slip out and you head towards the calf slice, that's also cool. However, you're going to have to reclaim my knee after the fact if you want to be able to leg attack me, or if you want to be able to most effectively control the position and sweep to the top. So again, we rotate here, please. This foot positioning indicates that you should probably go towards the backside, or you have to get that arm underneath. If we come back, this foot positioning says you can go towards the backside, or you can get that arm to the inside, no problem. The more defensively responsible I am from a submission perspective, the more likely I am to cover my feet and make myself very sweepable. The more my focus is on not getting swept, the more likely I am to be vulnerable for the submission, but the more difficulty you're going to have knocking me over easily. What you're going to find is that a lot of times jiu-jitsu doesn't punish you very much for being submission heavy in your defense, whereas fighting punishes you a great deal for being submission heavy in your defense, because the number one threat is this and the number two threat is this, followed by almost everything else. So you're going to have to adjust and be prepared to tweak your strategy for your context. It's very, very important that you understand that situation dictates your tactics. So if we come back again, I'm up high, swing all the way underneath. Adam doesn't protect himself. We're immediately into the finish. He does protect himself. I stay on my outside hips. I build, and we're up. As always, when you cut the person through, trying to land on your butt, you cut them through, and you land in technical stand-up position on your side so that you're able to build your base and secure top position, anchoring yourself to the floor and giving you the stability that you need to not be re-rolled back through. Again, as we develop as jiu-jitsu players, we want to make sure that our positional understanding and our positional stability becomes more or less the focus of our game.